Um, oh, there goes my ding. We are now live on the air with this week's chat. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Josh Ledgard. I'm one of the founders of KickoffLabs. We make email capture and lead generation easy and viral with landing pages and opt-in forms you can put on any website. Today, we're going to be talking about how to launch like a pro with 8 hacks for building your audience. Well over 50% of our customers fall within this segment, so it's no surprise when we put this up for a vote in our newsletter last week that this was the winning pick. It also means that we've got a lot of experience and data to back up what we're saying. I've personally seen hundreds of successful and several not so successful launches. So I'd like to think I know a thing or two about what goes into a great launch. Couple bits of housekeeping while we're waiting for people to join in. One, the presentation is here to provide some structure for the chat, but we'll be pausing to take questions frequently. Feel free to ask a question inside the chat window anytime. And we'll get to as many as we can. I personally enjoy making it a little bit more engaging, hearing what your real questions are, and using the presentation sort of as a structure to the conversation. So hopefully things that you see inspire you to say, I've always wondered about this, or I've always wondered about that. And then hopefully you can then go ahead and ask a question. The other thing I wanted to mention is the second half of today's presentation is going to be led by Izzy. So Izzy is one of our team members, growth hacker extraordinaire. He's one of the guys working behind the scenes to help KickoffLabs and our customers get higher conversion rates by kind of looking at pages, helping out our own conversion rates, and also helping out with our customers' conversion rates. So, all of that said, feel free to sign into the chat and start posting your questions. I'm going to share my screen in a second with the presentation. Nobody needs to look at me for the next hour. You can look at the slides instead, and we'll get started shortly. So let me here and share the screen. All right. If I'm not mistaken, everybody should now be seeing. Everybody should now actually be seeing the slides on the video screen, and the title should be "Launch Like a Pro: 8 Hacks for Building Your Audience." Let's move on. Now that we've mentioned that. As I said, I'm Josh, co-founder of KickoffLabs. Izzy's also going to be presenting with us today. And just first a quote and a little bit of a story. It's more important to serve a customer than it is to build a product. Remember, you're here to solve a problem. And to me, what that is, one of the core beliefs we've had at KickoffLabs is that supporting customers, even if our product can't do something, and finding a way for them to do it and solve their problem is always going to lead to more success down the road. One, if you keep having to do this, you're going to eventually build it into your product. And two, it creates a way to get engaged with your customers. We still personally email a great deal of our customers, and we did personally email the first 1,000 people that signed up, and offered them just tips directly and personalized suggestions for their landing pages. And it's something we still do that gives us, I think, a huge advantage. And it's important to remember as you go through the launch as well to get more personally engaged with people than not to. So let's go to the next slide. So the first thing I want to talk about is validation. So validation, a lot of people use our product to validate an idea, but let's dive in a little bit more specifically what it means. there's several different parts of validation. The first part that I like to think is you want to validate your copy on the page. A quick story. We had a KickoffLabs customer who shall go nameless, who got about 5,000 views on the page, of unique views on their page over the course of a month, and they only had about 20 or 30 signups. If you're wondering, that is a ridiculously low conversion rate. And when you looked at their page, it was easy to understand why. Because I don't want to incriminate anybody, I'll just say the page said something along the lines of "coming soon, improve your business," with an email capture bar below it. And I don't know, there's no validation happening there. I mean, of course, everybody would like to improve their business. The only thing he validated was that a vague launch page is not enough these days to get people to sign up for your idea. And so one of the most important things you want to do, and some people have found it helpful to do even before you have your launch page up, is to just take your pitch and refine it down to a short email and find 10 people that are potential customers, and email that pitch to them and say, hey, does this make sense to you? Do you understand what we're going after? Another validation I think that's important that people miss out on is thinking about the price. It's one thing to have a great idea, but if you're going to be charging money for it, you don't necessarily have to put the price up front, but there can at least be some indications that it's going to be a paid service, either by offering a discount for people that sign up, or even, like I said, just directly putting the price on there as a way to tell people, hey, this is going to be a paid service. The worst thing that can happen is you capture 5,000 emails from people who thought it was all going to be free, and then you ask them to pay you $200, and then you realize that nobody wants to pay because they all signed up for something they thought was going to be free. It's a huge mistake we see people make all the time. Another big mistake we see people make all the time is missing the incentive part of it. You want to be validating that you've got a proper incentive to get people to sign up today, right now, for something. And if you think about it, there's a lot you can do to get people to sign up. You could take a couple blog posts and put them into a PDF and say, hey, download my 5 free tips. Just give me your email address and I'll give you this. My product's not ready, but I'll give you 5 tips anyway on how to make your life easier. The key is that your launch page doesn't have to just be about your product. It can be about solving the customer's problem in another way. And so thinking about ways to some of the best converting launch pages are ones that do this, where they take an idea and they say, here's how I'm going to solve your problem in advance, and when we launch, we'll have an even better way for you to do it. All that kind of comes together to a landing page, and I want to show one of our recent customers, and hopefully people can read this fine. But it's from a company called Landscapely. The pitch is simple: enjoy your weekends, we'll take care of your yard. So it talks about the problem and the benefit that the customers get. It talks about a price. It says landscaping from $35 a month. It has some more detail, so it's going into exactly what's going on with this. It has a way to differentiate between somebody who wants landscaping and somebody who is a landscaper. And then there's an incentive. So you'll get early access to their app and 25% off your first service if you sign up today. The form is minimal. It asks for just what they need. The zip code is probably really important for them since they're probably launching locally in specific areas. And they've got a nice statement there. It says, we're not going to spam you. We hate that stuff too. But the point is, they're using this, and on this page, they're now able, with the conversion rate, to validate: is this the right copy? Do people sign up for the price? Are people incentivized by 20% off? And they've got all that within the package of a really simple launch page that converts well for them. So let's move on. So talking about incentives here, and so now we're going to actually dive a little bit deeper into what I mean by having a proper incentive, because it's so important. And after this section, I'll take a break and I'll look through the questions, just so people are wondering, because I've seen a few questions pop up in the chat. So your incentive should be relevant, offers ideally some sort of free value in exchange for the email address. The best incentives are something where you can have where it's immediate. The 25% off when we launch doesn't fit that immediate bill. An immediate bill would be like a download that's 5 ways to reduce your lawn care, the cost of your lawn care yourself would be more of an immediate benefit in that case that you could offer in addition to the percentage off. And simple. Again, here's another example that came up recently. Sort of a competitor to the classic AAA Motor Club. Sign up now for a year free of roadside assistance and full membership benefits at launch. So they're basically saying if you join our launch list, you can get free roadside assistance and member benefits when they launch. It's simple, it's easy, it's immediate. It's not immediate, but it's simple and it's easy, and it's something that people will be incentivized, and they use the button there to say get it free to put it right there on the front end. So now let me take a break for a second and look through the questions. All right. So the first question from Corey O. Is if I'm launching a mobile app, what pre-launch, on-launch, and post-launch promo and marketing strategy should I plan for to maximize brand awareness and sustain exposure for at least 2 months? Whew, that is a huge question. So part of it is a lot of that stuff is what we're talking about today in the chat. If I could answer, if I could answer a little bit as directly as possible, it's that you want to be, and I don't really talk about it so much in the presentation, is that you want to maintain engagement with people throughout the launch process. I've signed up, obviously, for a lot of launch pages in my position, and one of the launch, and the worst thing I see happen is I sign up for a page, and then 6 months later, I get an email that says, "We launched, pay us money now." There was no relationship building over that time, and they had 6 months to do it. There was no educating me about what the benefits were over that time. There was no giving me something to make me feel more connected to the brand over that time. And in the end, I just hit delete on the email. Whereas if you start asking people for feedback, you get them involved in the process, you get them, you send them surveys, you give them free stuff throughout that launch period, before and after. That's a much better way to do it. The worst thing you want to do is just collect 10,000 email addresses and then send out one email 6 months later blindly that says, "Hey, we launched," because that's not going to help anybody. Let's see. I have 100,000 users on my platform. I'd like to know the best way to grow organically to 1 million. Not everybody's question. Once you get to 10,000, I want to get to 100,000. Once I get to 100,000, I want to get to 1 million. It's not necessarily a question. It's more of a desire. But it's hard to know without knowing more specifics about your product and your platform and how easy it is to tack on things. I mean, honestly, the best thing you can probably start doing is if once you've got that critical mass of 100,000 users, therefore 100,000 email addresses, is start leveraging those users to speak to other users, whether through referral programs, through getting them to generate case studies and content, through getting them engaged on the email list with contests and promotions to share out. Let's see. And another question. My question is similar to the one above from Guest852. I'm launching a new mobile app, Purple Slate, that enables users to create event invitations using the mobile phone. What marketing efforts should be executing pre and post launch? Again, I think this is something you'll see a lot more of. It's a good lead into what we're gonna talk about in the next couple parts of the presentation. So stay tuned, and you'll see more about this. So let me go back to the presentation now. All right, and you guys should see that. And we're off. All right, so this starts to get more directly into the the question that was asked there about marketing before and after launch. So let me tell you a quick story. I say hack the big boys. What we're talking about here is finding where your customers live, where the audience is. Chances are you have almost no audience today, and even if you've got 10,000 email addresses, assuming that you're addressing a sizable market, 10,000 still equates to you have no audience on the grand scheme of things. There are other people who have a larger audience built that service your customers today. They're either related or they are directly competing with you. And your goal is to find out where your customers hang out. You can do that with Google searches. You can look for forums. And then once you find these places where discussions are happening, where there's popular blogs with comment sections, where there's gatherings of these people that you don't have built up on your site, start engaging with them and cultivating relationships, answering their questions. Start becoming known as an expert in that community. And then if you're wondering what the results can be from something like that, we tried this with several communities, and I'll just take one. So there's a lot of internet marketers and entrepreneurs on Quora, which is a Q&A based community. And both before and after, through our launch, even through today, we go and we participate in these Q&A communities. And when I say participate, I want to be clear. Over a long time span, there's just 90. I've posted 90 answers to questions, so it's not even a ton of work. And from those 90 answers, we've netted almost $100,000 in revenue so far from those 90 answers. And this is just one community, one location, 90 posts. And if somebody told you, if you just post 90 things online in a forum and you could make $100,000, I think you'd say yes. The work is not that hard. It's actually kind of fun to go in and see what problems your customers have that are either related directly, those are the best questions, or even indirectly to the product or service that you're offering those customers. It's not only yielded us direct revenue, it's yielded us relationships in the space, it's yielded us contacts with other companies. And like I said, we did this leading up to launch to build a reputation. So pre-launch, we were focused more on just learning more about the entrepreneur and the internet marketing customer that was in our space. Post-launch, we started to shift the participation to answering questions that were beneficial to both the customers and to us, because they might have been asking questions like, "Hey, can you review my landing page?" Sure, I can give you 5 seconds of feedback on your landing page. By the way, we've got a product that can make better landing pages for you and takes all the advice we have into consideration. So it's not hard. Like I said, 90 questions, $92,050. Totally worth it. You can do it there's 10 other similar sized communities out there. I imagine there's for every space you're in, there's a gathering of people online somewhere that you can leverage before and after launch. So the next thing, unless you are doing something that is completely unique and does not exist today, there is a competitor in the space. Not only are there probably competitors, there are probably companies that range the spectrum from competitors to frenemies, people that do very similar related things but don't directly compete with you, that already exist in the space. If a competitor does not exist, I would personally question whether you've done enough research yet, or whether or not there's money in the space. Because as soon as somebody proves that there's money in a space, there's a competitor. It doesn't really matter. So, like I said, you have to find the competition and start engaging their customers. We literally would look for tweets where people were frustrated with a competitor, and just ask them, what other frustrations they might have, and just personalize the engagement. There wasn't some spam bot on Twitter replying to everything. I just had a scheduled item on my task list to look through the queries. There'd be 50 to 100 complaints a day. And just pick out 10 or 20 of them and just respond directly to their questions, saying, hey, I'll bet we can help. When you start identifying the problems and the frustrations people have from your competitors, you can start to figure out where you can differentiate yourself and how you can speak to them on your landing pages and on your copy better, because you'll be able to speak directly to them. Look through their support forums is an easy win. What questions do people have that go unanswered? What things can you help out with? Even if it means answering a question. I've answered a few questions about our competitors' products because I just happen to know the answer. And the kudos you get for doing that pay dividends in the end. And it helps you predict, like I kind of mentioned earlier, when you're engaging in these conversations, you can see what are the opportunities for me to stand out with the competitors. So let's see. Yes, this presentation is being recorded. The revenue graphic is not a KickoffLabs feature. It is it's a feature of Kissmetrics. So if you already have launched a product and you've got some data analysis to do, we've loved using Kissmetrics. They don't pay me for the plug, but it's a great tool for doing analytics and looking at your numbers and slicing them all sorts of different ways. All right, something that a lot of people forget is, and you'd be surprised, is actually making sure that your launch has a viral component. When a lot of people think about virality, there tend to be two different answers you get from people. One is really not understanding what it means, and the other is people that say that think that the only way that viral is a success is if you get 10 million YouTube views in a month, and you've got this, one person sees it and brings on more than one person in result, and that what that would be is you sort of getting that hockey stick growth. Hockey stick growth is not unheard of. It's just something that you shouldn't necessarily think of as the only form of success in virality. If, for example, every one person that you sign up brings on 0.3 additional people, you are still getting a boost from having some virality built into your launch, built into your application. And so that goes to this point about being realistic. It's not just about, it's not like an all or nothing where it's a hockey stick or not. Set a realistic goal to get people to share what you're doing. Personalize it, and so making it associated with your brand, with your rewards, and make sure you don't forget to ask for people to share both on the landing page, the thank you screen, and on the email. And I tend to tell people focus on sort of the three core communities. So Facebook, Twitter, email. If you've got other, if you're a B2B app, then perhaps you want to do, you also want to do LinkedIn and focus on that as well. But here's a great example from a company called Curate. When you get their thank you screen, they immediately say, here's some incentive. You get 3 people in, you invite 3 people, and we're going to get you into our beta sooner. Here's the links to do it. We're going to make it ridiculously easy. We're going to give you a counter that shows how many people have joined. It's just a really simple example. That's a recent example that I think is overlooked in most people. If your page just sends somebody to the standard MailChimp thank you screen for joining my email list, I would consider that a gigantic lost opportunity. And why do I say that's a gigantic lost opportunity? Over 35% of leads we've generated, so of the 4 million plus leads we've generated, have come from people clicking on one of our referral links and sharing it out. That means that our customers on average are getting an additional 35% lift that they would not have gotten had they just sent somebody to a standard thank you for signing up, we'll be in touch soon style page. And I think most of us, 35% can be a huge, can make a huge difference in the bottom line long term, both through your launch and through revenue growth. This is something that we've used to differentiate ourselves. It's something that we make easy, and it's something that we believe in as a key to success. The scarcity and urgency, whether real or not, it does produce real results. The first bullet is to create an illusion of scarcity. Just today, co-founder Scott sent me an email from Mailbox, or sent me an email about the new Mailbox app and said, "Hey, would you like an invite? I've only got 3, so let me know if you want it." They could probably let everyone in today. They're owned by Dropbox. There's no real limitation. They're creating the illusion of scarcity that each person can only invite 3 people into their beta, and I'm sure it's helping them. They're putting up this artificial wall that, hey, you know, if you get in now, you're exclusive, and that works a powerful psychological trick. The way it works is people's dealing with people's feelings of loss to something they might not have even had. Hey, here's something great, but you might not get it, and that impact on conversion rate can be incredible, because it's a powerful motivational force for anyone. Like, if you all of a sudden imagine that there's something great out there, and then somebody tells you you might not be able to get it, now you want it more. And it's a trick that people use all the time to add a little bit of gamification to their launch, and it can be really simple. So here's an example from a company called Hostel Rocket. The countdown to launch starts soon. Planning a trip, you want exclusive access. Yes, give me exclusive access, and just a simple countdown. There's 26 days remaining, and then ideally, through what we talked about, if you're going to make this a core component of your campaign, we talked about earlier in terms of keeping engagement along the way, as you get within each week, you're saying, now there's 20 days, now there's 14 days, now there's a week, now there's 3 days, and that your emails you're sending out have this reminder that the sense of urgency is going, and at each closer step you get, assuming you're growing your list along the way, you'll see more and more people taking that next step, whatever it is you want them to do. Throughout the funnel that you're running. Let's see. I don't see any additional questions. I'm just going to keep going. So social insights. The more you, so this is sort of the more you know theory. The more you know about your customers, the more you can refine your copy, your offer, and your pitch. The more you can get, the more you can personalize, the more you can segment your email address, and if you understand your customers, then you're asking for less data over time. So here's just a quick example of you, the audience. This is a report from KickoffLabs. You'll note if you signed up for our live chats that I didn't ask you whether you were male or female. I didn't ask you what your age was, but I've got a breakdown that tells me that 77% of my audience is male, 22% is female, and almost half of you are 35 to 44 years old. You can feel free to post on the chat and tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong about you specifically, but these are great generalizations. We capture a lot of this data whenever somebody signs up to a landing page, and it can be incredibly powerful. So if you know that a majority of your audience is male and they're between 35 and 44 years old, there are things you could do to appeal to them and change your message. So, for example, that kind of tells me that the people that are looking at our chat are people that are a little bit more established in their careers, and maybe they're looking at another opportunity. Maybe they're looking to launch their company now after they've already had a career or a few years spent somewhere else. And that tells me that that they have a lot more background, perhaps, in the space that if my audience told me they were all just out of college, would have. And that helps you with your copy. It helps you segment your audience. It helps you create a more personalized message, which is really the name of the game as you keep growing your list, is keeping it more personal and engaging. So pre and post launch. I've mentioned this several times, so it must be important. You really want to keep people in the loop. You want to keep getting feedback. You want to let them in. There's the concept of the slow launch of just letting 10 people in at a time, so you can get more feedback as you go. And you want to ultimately ship something amazing. But I threw up this example that came in as just a simple, hey, here's an update, here's a presentation that was given. It's from a real person, not from company at. It sets context to say, hey, you might remember us, the Super Summit. Here's where you signed up. It delivers value. Hey, we're going to do a presentation. You can register for free here. And it asks for feedback, like, hey, drop me a line. It makes it feel a lot more personal. You'd be surprised with even a large list. You can scream and ask for feedback, and you'll get a lot of replies, but it's not an overwhelming amount compared to the value you get back out of the asking for feedback. All right, so there were a couple additional questions, so I'm actually going to go switch modes for a second and answer some questions. All right. What's your experience with on-site exit surveys and building a product that does only that? Since you work with startups, do you think startups are a good target market? I always tell people that they should run from startups. They tend to be terrible customers because if the startup customer fails, they're gone in 3 months and they're unhappy because they failed. If they're wildly successful, they're gone in 6 months and they've moved on. But it is a fun group of customers to have. So I won't discount that. But in terms of on-site exit surveys, do you mean exit surveys when people are leaving the page and you detect that they're leaving the page and you're asking them some questions? If so, then our experience testing that on our own site has proven that we've gotten about 20 to 30% more responses than, let's say, a standard kind of timed pop-up that goes up. So just in our own experience, the call to action on exit is a really good tool to grab additional leads for customers. But do I think startups are necessarily the best market? I'm not 100% convinced of that because I think most startups are just focused primarily on their core message and the pitch. I don't see as many of them using on-site surveys. There's not generally enough people coming to their site to make that worthwhile. They'd use more email tools with surveys, tools like SurveyMonkey, because even if you have an email list of 10,000 people, you probably don't have hundreds of people a day coming to your site, where the exit survey is going to make as much of a difference. Just my 2 cents. If I was going to answer the question honestly, and I was. So what are some ideas for, next question, what are some ideas for email or social media marketing content that can direct potential customers to my landing page prior to launch? The first thing is related to the other audience. So if you're talking about email marketing, if you have an existing audience, you should leverage it. So for example, if we as a company were going to launch a complimentary product for marketers, I would absolutely leverage the existing email list that we have to launch that product. Now, the other opportunity, which is huge, is finding related products or services that already have an email audience, and asking for a mention in exchange. You'll give something to their customers if they're willing to email out their customers about your product in one of their emails. So it could just simply be a guest blog post that you write for them. And it's not about having the blog post with the permanent link to your launch page. It's about being able to have that, if they've got 100,000 people on their email list, it's about being able to get in front of that audience and put the link to your launch page in front of that audience. And like I said, whether that's through doing a guest post or whether that's through a special offer that you're making with that audience, cross-pollinating related products it can be a big win. So I mentioned Kissmetrics earlier. I know there's a lot of overlap between uses of KickoffLabs as landing pages and uses of Kissmetrics as an analysis tool to fill in gaps. The guest posts we've done on the Kissmetrics blog tend to be well worth the time because it gets in front of their large audience. Oscar asked a question. This is off topic, so I don't have to answer it. Oh, but I will. I'm torn between KickoffLabs and Unbounce, and will need either in a month or two. What major feature does KickoffLabs have or is good at that Unbounce does not have? I'll say a couple right off the top of my head. So I mentioned virality. There is no concept of built-in virality on an Unbounce page. There is not a referral mechanism. There is not an analytics mechanism to track it. There's no way to reward people for sharing like we have. And that's a 35% boost. Most people are lucky if they can get a 10% boost from A/B testing. But if you can get a 35% boost for just something simple like that, you're golden. We provide the email. Autoresponders as well, so you don't have to use a third-party tool. We do integrate well with MailChimp and Aweber and other tools, but you actually can just use our product directly for that as well. Our pages are also mobile responsive. It's not a second page. About 40 to 45% of the views that you get on landing pages are going to come from a mobile device these days, especially if you're doing email marketing. And so having a capture form that works really well there is a huge win. I don't want to spend forever. I could spend a long time talking about the differences. There's pros and cons. All right. So I think I'd answered Oscar's question. I think I'd answered most of the question anyway. And then if hopefully people can see the screen too. I'm not going to actually try and start the screen on my machine. I think that might be what was causing some of the problems but that we had. I'd actually finished all of the 8 hacks originally that were there and was going through the questions. Actually, we'll have Izzy come on in a second, but Corio said, say on a pre-launch I get 50 emails on my list. How can I reach more potential customers to my launch page? If I use KickoffLabs, do you have a way for me to offer incentives for those referrals? So yes, absolutely. We've got what's called an influencer mail. So whenever somebody gets a successful referral, you can show them the count and you can deliver them something like a download or a promo code for getting more people back on there. Oscar says Unbounce must have super efficient attack software that shuts things down. Yeah, it was funny. No, I mean in all seriousness, the Unbounce is a good company. They're good guys. They have great support. I've sent some people their way where it makes sense. There's some things that we excel at that I know were a better solution for people. So anyway, I'm going to let it go for the last couple minutes. I know Izzy had a few things he wanted to share. Let me see if I can invite him up here, because I should have actually done that a second ago. Invite Izzy. And hopefully Izzy can jump up in a second and join this, and he can do his part of the presentation here at the end. And then we will try and combine the video and shorten it, and we'll post the video at the end, we'll post the video within a couple days. We'll send an email out to people that signed up with the video that's been minus the part about my computer completely dying. You'll get a more condensed version of the presentation. All right, Izzy, the invitation's been posted. I'll go through perhaps and start on this while we're waiting for Izzy to come in. And let's see. Bonus hack, easy one, change the call to action text. I showed a couple of examples. We showed a couple of examples today where the call to action text was directly related to the incentive. That seems to work best. Things that seem to work that don't work as well are texts like on the call to action button that say simply just join or sign up or the worst case submit. Because it's not related to what you're doing, you can have some fun with the call to action text. Another one is to leverage the opportunity to do ads. So if you're running ads, either retargeting or Facebook ads and Google ads, I actually think those are some of the best places to try out copy first in advance of the landing page. If all of a sudden you try out a different headline in your ad that gets you twice the click-through rate, you should make sure you're matching that headline on the landing page and leverage what worked for that variation of the ad on your landing page, and vice versa. If you make a change to your landing page that works really well, you might try those changes to your ads that you're running. So submit your launch. There's a lot of places where you can actually submit pre-launch stuff, and especially if you're targeting early adopters and startups, things like Beta List, things like Startup List, Show Hacker News. There's a ton of communities where you can do it. What I tell people though is the best community to show their launch is, like I said, that niche community that you found. Just simply doing a post saying, hey guys, I'm building something you might find interesting. I'd love to get your feedback. That approach is not spammy. It won't get you kicked off of most of these boards, and it gets you a chance to engage with them and get real feedback on your page as you're going. Obviously, if you're using us for a launch platform, I prefer you just keep your launch page up forever. But the sooner you get through it, the sooner you can start using our other tools to keep building your email list after you go. The point here is really launch a little bit before you think you're ready, because you need that feedback, or at least start doing a slow launch to 10 or 20 people at a time that you personally give a kind of concierge onboarding experience with, so you can figure out how to optimize your product as you go. Izzy had a section called Hack Fails. I see my general take on some of these things that come up here. Hipster is the one that probably annoyed me the most, because they had this generic launch page that just didn't explain what they were doing, and they got millions of signups, and we get people that come to us and say, I want millions of signups like they'd had. And the reality is you don't. You want people
sign up that are going to understand what they're getting into, that are eventually going to take the next step, whether that's purchasing something or engaging with your app or working with your product. And what happened in all of these cases is that people didn't know what they were signing up for. They didn't have that context. And so you can sign up hundreds of thousands of people, but if you're not engaging with them and providing with them that context, they're not ultimately going to buy. And so it looks like a success. It's like, oh, I've got 100,000 emails, but if only 100 of them are ever going to buy or engage with your app, you've got the wrong 100,000 emails, and that's probably the biggest, second to not getting any attention at all to your launch and your page. That's probably the biggest failure, is people that get the wrong attention to your page. So always be paying attention to where your audience is coming from and validating with them, getting feedback that they are the right people you want to be connecting with. And now let's go some of the easy wins. Dropbox is a classic win of setting up the launch page with a video and inviting your friends to sign up because they had that virality as well as the video. SpringSled is recently a really simple page. You can check that out. There's case studies online for the SpringSled. We'll link to them in the notes for the video. And then also Robinhood on here. What you'll notice about all of these examples is that they clearly define their audience. They only ask for something really simple, like an email address, and then they really do push and encourage the sharing of it. And they're not getting, other than Dropbox, they're not necessarily getting a greater than one sharing mechanism, but they are viral factor, but they are getting enough people to share where it makes a huge difference in their contributions. So a quote from Route School: "The best launch is if you have a product that other people like using so much they tell other people about it." I would modify this quote a bit. I know Robert. I'm a fan of a lot of what he does, but I think the best launch is if you have an experience that other people like using, that other people like so much they tell other people about it, because it's not just about the copy on your landing page. It's not just about capturing the email address. It's not just about the product after. It's the complete experience. Did the people feel like they have a connection? Do people feel like they can trust you? It's not just the checkout experience at the grocery store per se. It's the entire experience of going to the grocery store or your product, and I think that's what people need to think through. And part of thinking through that is, are there parts of it that you can make easier on yourself, like using a landing page builder to make the landing page easier, so that you can spend your time on both the product and the experience that goes around the landing page in your launch. So I'll generally leave you with that. Obviously, I'm gonna say all you really need is KickoffLabs and a spreadsheet to keep track of things, and that's about it. Feel free to sign up for KickoffLabs. Try us out. It's risk-free for 30 days. We make the best launch pages that are out there. There's simply not a better tool, and you should go try it today. With that, our next chat is going to be in a couple weeks. So we'll do this again in 2 weeks on Thursday. We got a lot of votes for our runner-up topics from the email we sent out, so we'll probably pick one of those topics and go at it. Like I said, the recording of this will be available. We'll take out the crashing part. And hopefully it'll be a lot tighter when you see the recording. But thanks for coming. There were a lot of people online. I appreciate the audience. I appreciate the questions. This is a lot of fun, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Thanks. Bye.